Welcome to Bloom Today. We have an incredible show for you lined up. We're going to be asking, if you're married to someone, can it really be abuse?
Hi, I'm Paula Wallace, president of Bloom in the Dark, and this is
Ginny Priz, the single-handed serenity coach. Welcome to Bloom Today, where we talk about internal and external brokenness and how you can heal,
so that you can use the fertilizer of your past to bloom today. Hey everyone, so today we are talking about if you're married to someone, can it still be abuse? And that's a hot topic in the church because marriage has such a high standard, with God having said things like, what God has joined together, let not man break asunder, right, Jenny?
Absolutely.
What did you get taught about marriage?
Oh, let's see. What did I get taught about marriage? Mostly, it wasn't from the church, to be honest with you. Mostly it was from culture, and it was from movies, and it was from music videos, and it was from just my friends and the family around me, of course. But marriage was something that we didn't talk about necessarily in my family, about divorce and marriage. We knew it was a possibility. And I will say this, that when I asked my mother one time, will you and Dad ever get a divorce? She said, I don't know, Ginny. I can't tell you the future. And that shocked me, because that wasn't the same message that I was getting from the world around me, because I thought you've got to have this marriage together, and I've got to be safe with this marriage. But my mother was very realistic with me in saying, I can't tell the future. I don't know what's going to happen. I hope not. Neither one of us want that, but I don't know what will happen down the road. And that was a huge shift for me at a pretty young age, to know that there's an option, or there's something that could happen down the road where maybe it's not as safe as I thought it was.
Well, for me it was the opposite, because I did get taught that marriage was everything. And the crazy part is, out of 7 aunts and uncles in my family, only one of them has not been married over 50 years. Like,
wow.
That does not fit the statistics of the country or the world or anything else at this point.
What is their secret?
Right, well, that's the crazy part, is there being no other option in a lot of cases. Not that they don't really love each other. Sure. I do have an amazing family, but out of 6 children that I'm the 4th of, I'm the only one that's divorced.
Wow.
Everybody else in my family is married to their original spouse. And so marriage was taught as vows before God, you just don't break.
Yeah.
And things may be better or worse, and in my case, things got pretty worse.
Yeah.
And
that must have been really difficult for you to go through that, knowing that you were the first one or the only one to go through that.
Yes, it was psychologically really hard, because I felt like a colossal failure. I felt like I was destroying the family's record of perfection in marriage. I felt like I was disappointing God, disappointing my family. But I stayed in the marriage too long as it was, and it took me a long time to start breaking it down and understanding that in my life, marriage was an idol.
Wow.
So even when I was being hurt and going through damage, I was putting marriage above my health, above my safety, above my children, and that's not what God says.
Right, that's not God's heart for marriage. That's not what He intended for marriage. He never. I mean, when you think about it, when Adam and Eve first came together, became man and wife, they had not yet fallen. They were still in Eden, and everything was
and
safe.
Marriage is a good thing,
and it was to prosper them.
Yes, and I still believe in marriage, by the way, everybody, even though I am divorced. And I believe that God's heart within marriage is the heart for Christ for the church. It's representative. It's our only real earthly, solid, tangible vision of what that is. But I also know that whatever God puts together, Satan comes in.
Oh gosh, yes.
And twists and destroys and does harm to. And so within the confines of something that's supposed to be beautiful and nurturing and safe and what God has ordained, as our safe place. Satan comes in and does harm. And when that looks really ugly, that can be physical abuse, emotional abuse, it can be verbal abuse, it can be all different types of brokenness, even sexual abuse, which we go, well, you're married, how can it be abuse? Well, I've been asked that.
Yeah.
And the fact is that anytime somebody is using something to control or harm you, then it is abuse. And when God's talking about his heart, he has very specific things about his heart with truth.
Sure.
That goes against those lies.
Sure. So love and honor each other. You are on equal playing field when you start this, and you both have to make the same vows.
Right.
You do not, make different vows. You both have to come together and agree on the same things. You're on the same playing field. And then abuse, control is when you are lording over the other and using that for harm.
Right. And nothing in God's word says, I want you to harm other people.
Or each other, right, in any way within that relationship.
Right, and wedding vows do not give anyone the right to do harm to anybody else. Now,
it's not a purchase.
It's not a purchase. It is not a slavery sentence, especially not to the women who get told they have to submit.
Yes.
Which I thought, in a way, made me close to equivalent, possibly, to a slave. Because if I had to submit above all else, then the other person had the right to own me. And if I made a bad choice in who I married, then it was my bad choice to deal with that.
That you had to live with that.
For the rest of my life.
Right.
And the bad part is when you get to where you don't want to live anymore, you have a problem.
Gosh.
It actually is a problem. And so I want to talk about the three truths that help me counteract the fact that I had Satan twisting truth to where it was putting me in harm's way and making me believe a lie. Yeah. And the first thing is submission had to do with somebody first loving you and giving themselves for you like Christ did the church. Christ died for the church. Christ sacrificed for the church. Christ washed the disciples' feet.
Yes.
He was on his knees serving and washing their dirtiest places. He was nurturing. He was leading out of love and sacrificial love.
Absolutely.
And so when you look at submission as I'm going to give you permission to nurture me and to love me and to protect me.
Wow.
That's where I'm going to submit, is to that place where you can bring good and lift me up.
Not submission for the sake of submission.
Not submission that says, I'm going to put myself here so you can shove me down.
Right.
We're talking about submission where I'm giving you permission to lift me up.
Wow.
And
that's
then I can
right
respect you when you're lifting me up and when you're nurturing and protecting and guarding my heart and loving me the way Christ did. And then I had to understand that marriage was never intended to give anybody control over anybody else. And I know more traditionally women are the victims of abuse and not men, but in some cases men are the victim.
Absolutely.
And women are the ones lording it over and controlling and doing harm. And so understanding that truth means anytime there's an imbalance in control or manipulation or anything that's intentionally doing harm to somebody else. And it doesn't really matter if it's not physical, you didn't get broken bones. Though I've heard circumstances where people got broken bones and still said, oh, I wasn't a victim of domestic violence.
Sure.
But when you look at it, the verbal abuse, the psychological abuse, the emotional abuse can actually leave deeper wounds and do more harm long term.
Sure.
Though many times that includes physical abuse as well.
Right.
So you don't have just one type. But when you start understanding that marriage is intended to be a framework for protection and love and safety,
yes,
where you're respecting and submitting in a way of lifting each other up. And then the sickness and in health until death do us part is so much different than when it is bringing harm. So understanding the third part of God's heart to love and protect, not abuse. His heart is to love and protect. And when I see that, and there's any kind of brokenness that is not loving or protecting, then I can reach out for help to my pastor or to a counselor or to a friend that I trust to say, this is what's going on. Is that okay? Is that normal? Because I may have been conditioned to believe it's okay when it's actually not.
Right. Well, and sometimes there's an aspect of forgiveness that happens by the abuser who, or the person who is trying to control, where they are, they feel it's a compulsion. They're not really in charge of themselves, and even though they don't want to, they find themselves lashing out, and they'll apologize afterwards. But that apology does not invalidate the abuse in any way.
No, and that's where they have the option to actually go get help.
Yeah.
They can go get counseling. They can, in some cases, it's worked where they've separated for a while and both gotten help. And then as there was true healing and change, been able to come back together and actually maintain the marriage where it isn't continuing to do harm.
Right.
I have really good friends who did that, and they have a beautiful marriage now. But they went through some really hard times and stayed separate when they were unsafe for each other until they had worked through and really gotten help to dig deep into the causes and root of the damage so that they weren't doing harm to each other. And so there's so many different ways that God takes our heart and cares for it if we look to Him for truth instead of going to religion or status or control, because His heart for us is so beautiful within that relationship.
Absolutely. And there's a woman that also shares her story, which I am so excited to introduce you guys to today. She's known around the world, and she's the winner of 7 Gospel Music Association Dove Awards. Vocalist, dancer, choreographer, mentor, Nicole C. Mullen. Nicole, will you come and join us at the kitchen table?
You get to come hang out with us. Jenny, why don't you give her a hand?
No,
Jenny's going to give you a hand.
I've got a hand for
whatever.
Can I get a hug? Can I get a hug?
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for
pleasure.
coming on.
Thank you guys for having me.
Be with us.
Thank you.
Do you like our kitchen?
I do. I love the kitchen. Nice remodel and everything. Loving it.
Love it.
We're so enjoying it and having you here and taking time out of your really busy schedule to hang out with us.
My
and
pleasure. My pleasure.
Yes,
in our little space.
We, what we would love to do, can we share this Hey Girl video,
yes.
a little bit
Go
of
for
this?
it, yes.
And, we'd love to watch this. Take a look at Nicole.
Just in case you ain't never been told, like a diamond cuddled in pure gold, you're a wonder to behold. Don't you know that everyone can see hidden treasure under lock and key? That's the protocol for royalty, and I'm wanting you to know. Hey girl, you're simply beautiful, and your frame is wonderful. You're simply beautiful, and your frame is wonderful. Right the 35 it says to. From your hair down to your baby toe, God has made you valuable. Can't nobody rock you like you. Can't nobody rock you like you. Can't nobody rock you like you.
Girl, you're simply beautiful, and your frame is wonderful. Girl, you're simply beautiful, and your frame is wonderful. Girl, you're simply beautiful, and your frame is wonderful. From the curl in your hair to your big brown eyes, yeah. Even on your bad hair days when you don't feel fly, yeah. Never be another you, and that's alright, yeah. Black boots with your beanie in the summertime, knee-high socks with your fingernails painted black. Beautiful, you are. You are beautiful, you are. And you are beautiful, just the way you are. You are beautiful, just the way you are. You are. Green, brown, eyes, real thin, gloves, eyes, dark, light, tan skin, just the way you are. You got long hair, short hair, natural, your plan, your style, worldwide, just the way you are.
Just want you to know, babe.
But you walk, you know, hey
I mean, there's so much kind of brokenness in that video that is brought to the surface, and I know that's something that you have had to experience yourself is some brokenness. Could you tell us how that started in your life and where this passion came from?
Yes. Well, I'll say this: I grew up in a great home. Mom and Dad were married for 54 years. Grandparents were married for forever and a day.
Wow.
Parents were deacons in the church. Dad had a steady job. He provided well for our family. He loved us well. So I didn't grow up with dysfunction.
Right.
It wasn't until I was around the age of 20 and I had graduated from Bible school that I met a guy, and I thought he was the Black Apostle Paul. And because he said, bless God after everything. I was like, all right, he's really spiritual. Till he hit me. And then,
oh, wow.
Yeah. And so things started to change. And actually, we got married for about a few years. And during the process of it, it was, you know, we looked really good on the outside. He was an assistant children's pastor of a fairly large church in Dallas. He was responsible for over 1,000 children a week. So on the outside, we looked like the couple, you know.
And if this many children are under his care,
he must be safe. He must be good.
Absolutely.
You know, and you know what, in his defense, I believe he really did love the Lord and that he was trying to do right on one side. On the other hand, I think he was just so broken. And I'm not making an excuse for him because he was completely wrong, 200% wrong, you know.
Right.
But I don't want to vilify him completely because I believe he was hurting people. You know, he had never gotten healed. And so, and I could not be his healer. And that was what I was trying to do.
Right.
Wow.
And so through the course of the marriage, you know, we went through a lot of dysfunction of, you know, he would go through the knife drawer and he would click the knives and Nicole, or he'd wake me up out of a deep sleep and he would pull me from the bed, you know, by my ankles and begin to kick me, or he would punch, or just a lot of crazy stuff, you know. And we had gone through this cycle for a while, and it would be the fight and then make up, and then it would be a calm period of time, and then you think, wow, we finally got past the trauma and the drama.
Yeah.
And, you know, I wanted that Cinderella story. I wanted the story of it was horrible and now it's great, and we're sitting on the couch and we're talking together on television about how God delivered us from the madness, you know.
Yeah.
So I kept holding on to that, you know, and eventually I began to see that it wasn't going in that direction. And I thank God because he had given me great sisters and great sister girls to talk to. And when I would, you know, have one of those flight moments of being beat up, you know, it was one of my sister girls who would pick me up and take me to their homes or their apartments. It was them who hit me out. It was them who spoke life back into me. And then when we got toward the end of it, and I thought, you know, Lord, I don't know what to do. You know, I remember having a night that, you know, it was one of those nights where he would scream out to me often, like, Nicole, what is your purpose in life? You have no purpose in life. And that was one of his mantras over and over. But it was just a dark night, and it was a night where, and like you were saying earlier, like, can you be sexually taken advantage of, you know, by your spouse, you know? And on the outside, people would think, absolutely not, because, you know, your body is his and his body is yours. But abuse is abnormal use.
When they're trying to do harm.
Absolutely, when harm is intended. And when you know, anyway, so that was one of those nights. And I remembered feeling so low in my spirit that I remember just saying, God, you know, I know half of Christendom says if you kill yourself as a Christian, some say you're going to go to heaven, the other half say you're going to go to hell. Well, that's a bet I can't take if the hell people are right.
Sure.
So can you, in your mercy, can you just take me tonight in my sleep? And so I remember, like, praying my best prayer, you know, asking him to forgive me for any and everything I could think of. I went back into my childhood, you know. Lord, when I stole that cookie, forgive me of that. You know, anything that's going to keep me out of heaven, Lord, just forgive me of it all. You know, and so I was just cleaning house and really had my heart set on when I woke up the next morning, I was going to wake up looking at the face of Christ, you know. And when I woke up the next morning and I was still sleeping with the enemy, it was an all-time low. It was just one of those, like, I can't even die. Like, I can't even, there's no rescue, like, I can't even, you know.
Yeah.
And
no escape from
no
this.
escape from this. But I do remember this. Back when I was 12 years old, I'm going to flash back a little bit, there was a prophecy that was given to me by a lady at our church. Her name was Sister Dottie, and she was one of those people that if she said, thus saith the Lord, you could take it to the bank. And so part of what she said the Lord said to me was that he was going to give me songs in the night. And so I was 12 years old, and I thought, well, he's going to give me songs after 10 or 11 p.m. I'm a night owl. That works for me. You know what I'm saying? That's cool. I don't like the morning anyway, you know? But it never dawned on me until later on that he meant songs for and in the night seasons of life.
Yeah.
Like Bloom in the Dark.
Like Bloom in the Dark. Absolutely.
Wow.
That's where the light shines the brightest. That's where we need it. That's where, manure fertilizes. You know what I'm saying? And it's a nutrient, so it's like, and so it was that moment, and it was those moments like that. And so it was through that season and even after that season, because the Lord delivered me from that. I went home and I humbled myself to my parents and told them and ate crow and felt like the biggest failure in the world because everybody had been married for forever and a day in my family.
Same here.
I was the only one who couldn't keep it together for 3 years for real. And I was so sure that God was done with me. Like, Lord, I know you're just finished. And you have to be, because I failed you royally. And it was one of those things of he whispered to my heart, like, no, you're just beginning. Like, I'm not done with you, And it was, through the course of even another relationship that didn't work out, that was, I've been beaten on, I've been cheated on. We all got our sad, we can tell sad stories all day long, I know what it feels like to have heartache, but I also know what it feels like that in the midst of those dark seasons, for Christ to step in, for him to shine his light, for him to begin to sing over me. And it's in that night season that he began to give me songs like Redeemer. Songs like Call on Jesus, songs like One Touch, Hey Girl is on the other side of it, so just different songs he began to speak to my spirit and sing over me, not just for my night, but for the nights, but exactly for the night season of others too. And so I'm a witness that that's what he does, that's what he will do if we yield those times to him. And so,
Did he really come and speak to you through your songs? Or was there other people that were coming in your life as well that were helping you through those times?
All the above. It was the songs of others at the time first.
Right.
Other people that I'd heard on the radio, or just different songs that ministered to me from a worship service. It was friends. It was people that spoke hope to me, even people who didn't know what I was going through. They might come and say, the Lord has something good for you. I see the Lord prospering you. I see the Lord bringing you up and out of this situation, not even knowing what the situation was.
Right.
So he began to speak like that. He spoke to me through his word. He showed me stories of different sheroes in the Bible who had endured hardship.
Like
me too. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm like, okay, Lord, help me to have the grace and the tenacity of the Hannahs in the Bible. You know what I'm saying? Give me the wisdom of the Abigails. Give me the smartness and the wittiness of the woman at the well. Right. Give me the humility of the woman who was busted in adultery that Jesus covered. And Lord, cover me in my madness. I may not have been guilty of the same thing, but Lord, cover me, shield me. So it was these stories like this, and then others, ... where I saw how the Lord interacted with them. And because he said he's the same yesterday, today, and forever, it gave me hope and courage that he would deal with me in the same way.
I love that. And those are all tools that we can use.
Yes.
Any one of us, whether we are someone in the public spotlight or not.
Absolutely.
Coming to him, it's all the same. Absolutely. And now you're using this passion that you have that comes from the hurt that you've received is with your Baby Girls Club.
Yes.
And you're serving as a mentor now. So tell me a little bit about that.
We have Baby Girls Club, where we have girls, young girls that we mentor, me and a lot of other women. We speak into their lives. We dance with them. We do Bible study. We memorize scripture. We eat. We have a model of it here in Franklin, Tennessee, where some wonderful women are spearing it up. Jennifer Moore, LaSonia Thompson. And then we have a model of it in the country of Belize, and another model of it in the country of Zambia.
Wow.
And so I've been to Belize, and I'm yet to go to Zambia, but I'm coming in Jesus' name.
Yes.
But so the Lord he's expanding it, and we're looking forward to seeing what else he's going to do with it and through it. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That is very cool. International.
Yes, international.
Not just national.
And I also believe if we get them as seedlings, then we have a better chance of them as they grow to make the right decisions later on,
And to recognize dysfunction sooner, and to understand what's not okay earlier.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That would absolutely help to prepare them to build the boundaries they need to build, know what to look for, where the red flags are, when to say no, when to see the fruit.
Yes.
When to go get help.
Actually, and when to get help. Yes, absolutely.
Yes,
and to know that Christ is not someone who's sitting there saying, I want you to be hurt, I want you to be harmed, and this is how you serve me. No. He loves his women. He loves to take care of us. He loves to, guard our hearts. And so he keeps us from the dumbness of life too. Not just delivering us through it, but He keeps us from it at times too.
Absolutely.
So,
That is so
Nicole,
awesome.
Thank you for being here. I'm so
my pleasure.
excited. And we want to celebrate with you because you are our ex-victim of the week.
Nicole means victorious one anyway.
And so I have this beautiful tattoo.
Okay.
But considering the fact you might not want an actual tattoo, it's our ex-victim symbol that has a little V for victim,
Very
but
cool.
a big X for ex-victim.
Very cool.
And you go from being a victim to an ex-victim so
right.
you can bloom.
So overcomers.
So it has the flowers on there, and so as the ex-victim of the week, you get to have the necklace. And then, as you can see on the table with the chocolates and the tissues, it's kind of a theme because we say you can't read our book without chocolates and tissues.
Gotcha.
And I really think you need them for your music too.
I think you're right.
So you get your own pack of
Thank you.
tissues.
Appreciate it.
And you get your own box of chocolates.
Because I was eating up yours earlier.
You're supposed to keep
I got my own. Thank you very much.
You get to take those home with you. So we're so excited that you're here showing us that it's incredible that we get to use the fertilizer of our past to bloom today. Yay!
A free PDF copy of the Bloom in the Dark book and a full list of Bloom Today's coaching tools can be found on bloomtodaytv.com. Then visit Bloom Today's Facebook group for deeper conversation.
Alpha.